In our first story, Joy News checks in the OT region review. Teachers there are excited to get back to work despite the delay in the supply of PPEs to schools as promised by government.
Teachers who interacted with Joy News say they are in high spirit and can only hope that government delivers on its assurances to PPEs before Monday for the fight against COVID-19 as they get ready to go back into the classrooms.
It's all about getting your materials ready. I teach chemistry. As far as chemistry is concerned, I have to do a lot of practicals for them as a way of preparing them to write examinations. So as I stand here, I have made some questions available. When the students come, I'm going to feed them with those questions. They keep on solving. I keep on giving them. They keep on solving. And then I give them a series of practicals to do as a way of putting them together for the coming examination.
Schools across the country were shut down 2 months ago during the initial wave of COVID-19 into the country. For the teachers, they are ready and prepared to deliver on their duties and would have to improvise if government delays in the provision of PPEs.
If it doesn't, I think teachers will be very proactive in the management of some of these things. We can improvise on our own. Just as you see me wearing one, I think we can do something whilst we await the government to also provide what they've promised. And I think the school administration too can come in and then at least give some help before the government provides what it has promised.
Yeah, we'll improvise. We'll improvise. With what? We'll make sure that we get these other containers like those jerry cans, yeah, to replace the Veronica buckets and other things. The hand sanitizers the school will provide.
Other teachers who interacted with Joy News off camera say they reserved their comments and would determine whether they would be ready for work until after Monday, when the realities on the ground would be realized. However, if PPEs would be distributed to senior high schools on Sunday as announced by government, it is practically impossible for the items to reach the expected number of teachers by Monday morning for them to use. This is the fear many harbor. The headmaster of Bueman Senior High School, Reverend Tete Ajigodi, says they would rely on existing structures for safety if the PPEs do not get to the schools before the students come in.
Regarding the coming of the PPEs, yeah, we were assured that before they come on Monday, those things will be supplied. Friday is there, Saturday, even Sunday is there. We are sure those things will come before the students come on Monday.
What if it doesn't come, the PPEs don't come?
We believe they will come, but in case they don't come, ourselves we have put measures in place. We have provided the Veronica buckets and some amount of sanitizers ready to begin before that of the government comes.
The headmaster has also been assuring parents of the safety of their wards as they prepare to return to school on Monday.
Internally, we have also put enough measures in place to secure their wards. And what I would say is, the battle is not for the government alone. We have a role to play as parents. So when their children are coming, they can buy them these little hand sanitizers for them to carry along, additional nose masks or face masks to take along to complement that of the government.
Peter Sanu for Joy News.
Well, we have to apologize for that mix-up, but still related to this, the leadership of teacher trainees is exploring ways to ensure colleges of education adequately meet safety protocols as students return to school. Now, this follows government's directive to all final year tertiary and second cycle institutions to resume and also prepare for their examinations. Now, besides the disinfection or fumigation of schools before the arrival of students, the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana is distributing COVID-19 sanitary materials to colleges nationwide. Nana Sensumensa has more in the story.
Over 18,000 final year teacher trainees are expected to return to school for their licensure exams. The association is working closely with college authorities to stem up safety measures to ensure members are safe from the spread of the COVID-19. Its president, Augustine Appiah, appealed to students to adhere to safety protocols when they return to campus.
he also observed that education must also go on. So he urged all final year students to come back to college, and then the universities and other schools, basic schools, to also go and write their final exams. So looking at it critically, we also want to also present this to the colleges, so that will also help to mitigate some of the challenges that we are facing in this time of pandemic, and also to fight against the viral pandemic. So in view of this, we will also urge all colleges to accept this in good faith and work with it and observe all precautionary measures that is being put in place by the health sectors. I also urge them that even as they are coming back to write their examinations, they should study hard and also observe all the social distancing and all social protocols, so that they will not contract any virus. Having said that, we also want to thank the government for the measures that he has been putting in place.
Dean of Students at Wesley College of Education in Kumasi, Godwin Tozuro, outlines some safety measures colleges have adopted.
Well, I can speak on behalf of my college. I don't know what pertains in some of the other colleges, but for Wesley College, I believe we have enough what it takes to take the students as far as social distancing and whatever is concerned, both in the classrooms as well as in the dormitories. Preparation are far ahead. Fumigation have been done already. Arrangements is being done by the whole staff as to how students will be arranged in the various dormitories. Again, the assessment office is also taking a lot of steps to, as it were, arrange students in the classrooms as far as social distancing is concerned. I must say that even yesterday, we were measuring, we went around with our tape measures, measuring, only praying that everybody will be safe before reaching here. And we do hope that there wouldn't be any problem as far as containing them is concerned.
Nana Asensumensa reporting.
And already, we do know the government is saying it will use feedback on how final year senior high school students observe safety protocols as they return to school as benchmark to lift the entire restriction on schools across Ghana. The Minister for Education, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Pempe, says students are expected to strictly follow instructions as school resumes.
Government would observe the data. Since the university is open, we are carefully monitoring what is happening. And tomorrow we will have the secondary schools also opening. We will use that time to monitor and see how the virus behaves. If we can maintain the social distancing and the hygienic protocols, that will lead to further reopening of the economy and schools.
What's your advice to students to be returning to school and also parents?
Parents must be reassured that government is not taking the decisions lightly. Government just doesn't sit up and say, open schools. Whether we like it or not, life must continue. Life must continue with knowledge. And knowledge comes from the hard science and data. So that is why we are reopening. We hope that the final year students that are going are of sufficient knowledge to be able to maintain those protocols and distances and hygienic issues. If they can do that, we'll be monitoring carefully, but if they can do that, then we can further open up the schools for the other years to come.
Remember, we're going to have a comprehensive conversation on the subject, the return of senior high school students, at least the last years, back to school. But away from education, we have to focus on a number of stories right here in Accra and the rest of the country. And residents and motorists of Ablekuma Manhia and adjoining communities are once again appealing to government to urgently fix the bad roads in the area to attract commercial drivers to extend their services to that enclave. Now, the road has badly deteriorated to the extent that most commercial drivers who do business on that stretch have withdrawn their services. The road has also been blamed for miscarriages suffered by some expectant mothers in the affected communities. In the following report, the few drivers who are usually first-timers on the road have vowed not to ever use the road again.
Able Pumatumoinia stretch has now gone back to default mode. The road is now in a terrible shape, and it has been over the years. And as usual, the people are wailing and crying and want a permanent fix of the stretch.
We see many potholes, many water gather around, and we suffer for the road. We not drive well.
Do you use the road every single day?
No, I used to pass sometimes, but not all the time.
So tell us what you want to see done about the road.
Yeah, I want to make the government help us to repair the road givers. That's my matter. Sometimes our budget, more things spoil for our car under.
Okay.
By road is very bad. And you can catch one day. Not advice to promo for almost the main gate. Don't go to the other.
All right, thank you.
This road is bad. It's very, very bad. If the government can do the thing here, the road will be spoiled. Everybody knows the people.
Would you come back here next time if someone tries to bring you?
Come back. The person who take me, he didn't show me the place where, like I won't come. Because the road is bad. Very bad.
The road is so bad.
Bad.
The government is not paying attention to this.
And I'm sure you have been using this road.
Not really, but this is my second time of passing here.
Okay.
Just that from the look of things, from what you can see here, see that the government is not sensitive to what is happening here.
So what do you want to see?
We just need to, we need them to attend to the road because from what you can see, it's not motorable. So they should do something about it.
Obi Yamanyani, Obia, Otimanya Krum, I go see a former, and there you know, Tomato Obian, Sanan, what the Oyasa Fache. It's great in Kroma, Abusa, Tankasia, Abusam, 24 almost to market way. I don't know what station way. It's a American. It will be the tomato and sa. No bar, and you were standing few. Naminam young and Naminam Wadia. Yamam 200 Makama nothing. Roman Yansa Punia, Maka, the Didi Papu, with a shoemaker. Not the matter is too more. I say, will be a man, I'm so we are present. Sabu Kaka, oh, Papa is your before. And the second I found over. I'm very fond of the Diablo, Omagis Gadi.
Now we have to end the bulletin, but before we go, Chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay, is fighting off claims that the loss of over 40 incumbent members of parliament in the just-ended parliamentary primaries would have dire consequences for the party in the upcoming December polls. Mr. Blay describes the loss of the MPs as regrettable, but also argues that the delegates rather chose candidates with the requisite acumen to advance the party's fortunes. Speaking to Joy News, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, Mr. Blay said in previous elections, the MPP had equally garnered more votes in constituencies where there were new aspirants fielded.
We must, don't forget, we should have faith in the decision of the electorate. We always have confidence in what they decide. They are always right. I say, at the heart of democracy is contest, elections. And the electorate will always have the last say, irrespective of what goes behind or what goes into it, the campaign, the messaging, and in some cases even the inducement that people will allege. But people exercise their franchise, they vote for those that they want to, as it were, represent them. That the people deserve those that they vote for to rule or to represent them in whatever case it is. I wouldn't have any quarrel with the decision that our delegates have taken in the various constituencies.
And those who say that those will be dire consequences for the governing NPP in the December election because one, is going to affect parliamentary work. Two, there's going to be disaffection and the fact that some of the losing candidates might even go independent, which would again affect your fortunes. What's your response to that?
These are speculative. I did say that it's at the heart of it all is contest. And at the end of the day, we close our ranks. We will reconcile ourselves to the fact that it has taken place. And don't forget, it is our party. Friendly hostilities, contests among ourselves, primaries, it's galvanized the support. And let's admit it, in some cases, individuals within their constituency have lost maybe some kind of hope. They've lost some kind of respect. They've lost confidence in some of the people they might have voted against within our party. I'm not saying the general elections, but within our party, and individuals represent the parties. And our party members, delegates, through the delegates, they've made their decision. On the contrary, maybe I will argue that it will rather ginger the party, bring new blood, to bring a vigor, and people will campaign with more enthusiasm for the 7th December polls.
People experience have lost the election.
Some have lost it, but they will. Some have immediately they lose the election, or they lost the election, have expressed their desire to back those who defeated them. That's good sportsmanship. And I believe that's the spirit which is. Elections are, sometimes people will win, some will lose. It doesn't mean that it spells doom for a party which is in power. On the contrary, I think it's making the party stronger. And let me even bring to your notice, in most cases when they had changed, the party had changed, or the constituencies have changed their representatives, that is the MP, the aspirants, and we've gone to elections, the votes have rather gone up in the constituencies that we changed. It's been the case, the trend. So I don't agree that there will be some kind of apathy in galvanizing support. Of course, let me admit, Parker, that in Parliament quite a number of chairmen of various committees have lost their seats.
Almost about 15 or 20. Yeah.
It's regrettable. But why not? There will be replacement. The party has a store of vigorous, creative, intelligent membership. And those who have come to replace them, hopefully, and I'm confident about it, will also be up to the task of representing the party in Parliament.
And that's it. News state bit for this morning. But we have more news as we look at the newspapers. Do stay with us.
Let me remind all Ghanaians, once again, that the wearing of masks is mandatory. Leaving our homes without a face mask, a face covering, or a face shield on is an offense. The police will conduct random checks in the enforcement of this directive. If you are arrested by the police defying this directive, your sanction could be severe. So please, let us all, at all times, wear our masks. I appeal to each and every one of you to take this as a personal challenge and help rid Ghana of the virus. For the first time in our nation's history, the government will absorb the WASSCE examination fees of the 313,837 students who will sit for the exam. 75.4 million cedis will be spent on this. These SHS3 students, also referred to by some as the Kufuor graduates, are also the first group of beneficiaries of government's free senior high school policy to sit the WASSCE exams. 1.2 million children, the highest such enrollment in our nation's history because of this policy, are currently in senior high schools. let us pause for a moment to consider what would have happened to the 400,000 more students who have entered senior high school between 2017 and 2019 without this policy in place. We introduced free SHS because history and the experiences of developed nations have shown that the most efficient way to empower the population and thereby guarantee the future of the nation is by investing in education and skills training of the youth. This is because it is the people of Ghana, Ghanaians like you and I, and especially the youth of today, who are going to build Ghana. Without an educated populace, it will be difficult to transition from the status of a developing to a developed nation. Summing it up, that most noble Ghanaian, James Kwejiya Agre, said 100 years ago, and I quote, "I want all my people, my countrymen and women, to be educated, and thus render Africa indispensable in intellectual, spiritual, and commercial products of the world," unquote. I take this opportunity to assure all parents and guardians the government is determined to protect the lives of the 800,000 students, teachers, and non-teaching staff who will be returning to school from tomorrow. I will be the last person to put the lives of the Akufo-Addo graduates at risk.
Well, so I do have Mamavi here, and on stream is Gifty and Rapia. Mamavi, good morning to you. How was your weekend?
Oh, hello, good morning. It was a busy weekend. I'm not sure I had like a day to myself. Yesterday I was in Koforidua. So weekend has been working, I guess. Yours?
Was okay.
We'll take it like that. Gifty and Apia. Good morning to you if you can hear me.
Good morning, Gifty. Well, so we're still setting her up, ultimately.
But Roland, I was just telling you that when I went to Koforidua, I got something for you. You're wearing a mask. I don't expect that you can eat what it is, but do you want to have a look at it? Do you want to guess?
Is it food?
Something you can eat, yes.
Right.
So what do you think it is? From Koforidua.
Bread.
Famous, what kind of bread?
Auntie Grace bread.
He doesn't know, so I won't give it to him.
Oh, it cannot be that bread.
Which one is that? It cannot be what?
Auntie Grace bread.
Which one is Auntie Grace bread? That's invented by you. I'll do the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times newspaper. There's a very famous one in Koforidua. I thought you would know. That's why I got it for you, but you don't know, so, you know. Let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper. Do you know Beef Foster is because Tina told you?
Who is Tina? Tina is one of our lead camera women here. Tina, good morning to you.
Let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper. I'll show you what I brought to you.
You're so biased, it's not funny.
Front page of the graphic, NPP parliamentary primaries, 40 incumbents fall. That's the sad one over the weekend. President outlines fresh interventions to cushion SHS students. But who said it's sad? I mean, we're not the party, are we? Okay, Dr. Yauba, next guest editor. Government appointees had a field day in primaries. That has to do with the fact that some 40 sitting members of parliament on the majority side will not be going back after, December 7, if you like. In the center spread, over 5,000 fraudsters applied to COVID-19 stimulus fund. Teaching council to phase out pupil teaching. And on the back page of the paper, ABSU supports alma mater with PPE. That's some members of the St. Augustine's Pass Students Union. 214 domestic workers from Gulf states arrive home. There's also another story on the back page of the paper. It's a total of 214 Ghanaian women arrived from Beirut, Lebanon last Friday in a special exercise to repatriate them home. The women, all domestic workers, asked to be brought back home due to the cruel treatments they were receiving at the hands of their employers. In the cargo compartment of the special flight were the remains of 2 females. The repatriation exercise was facilitated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration in conjunction with Ghana's mission in Cairo, Egypt, which has oversight responsibility over Lebanon. So details of that story, we continue to share the horrifying circumstances within which some people live and work in such places. But you know, you can say it all you can. There are people who still want to visit and still go and work because they say they make more money even as domestic workers there. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, front page, 40 NPP MPs fall as big names lose seats in parliamentary primaries. Ghana's COVID-19 recoveries hits 10,473. Well, it's actually recovery slash discharges, or Roland Walker?
Yes, now it's recoveries plus
slash
discharges.
Yeah.
Plus discharges, so.
So
I don't know whether we're supposed to read into it. And yesterday on the lockdown, there were a number of contributions also from our panelists you get to find. But, you know.
Well, 85 deaths with 14,007 confirmed cases, 14,007. SHS reopens today as heads pledge to support government to enforce COVID-19 protocols after disinfection by Zoom Lion. On the back page, Foreign Ministry condemns demolition of diplomatic quarters in Accra. Give private health institutions logistics to help fight COVID-19. All right, that's what's on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Roland?
Oh, definitely. So, do we have Joseph Akable? Okay, Joseph Akable. Is Gifty also on stream? Not yet. Okay, Joseph, good morning to you. Okay, Gifty. Yeah, we do have Gifty. Gifty, good morning to you. Gifty, good morning. Gifty is in a very dark place. You can't hear us. It's not because of the picture. I'm saying that she's far away as far as the sound is.
I'm here, Roland.
Yeah, very good, very good. And you're looking at, I think Mamavi has looked at the Ghanaian Times already. So I'll give you the dispatch. And then
Roland, good morning. I see you both on TV. I don't know whether you see me.
Yeah, we see you. We see you.
We see you. I'm not sure if we can work on that camera of yours so it could be bright a bit. I think you need a little bit of lights where you are.
I think she has a part in the area.
She doesn't. All right, Gifty.
Okay, but I do have a couple of newspapers. Okay. I can go through the dispatch.
Okay.
The dispatch says all MPs and staffers must quarantine immediately. And then, of course, it's referring to the recently held NPP primaries. And then it says, Chachu, I almost died. And the story is attributed to Chachu Chikata, who is recounting his prison experiences 12 years ago. Okay. Then there's another story on the dispatch that says heads of SHS and JHS in the Ashanti region reassure students that they will be safe. Then all the analysis of NPP's parliamentary primaries, they're all on the dispatch newspaper. Then evolution of Ghana's parliament since 1951. That story is on page 5 of Uncle Ben's newspaper. And yes, so at the back page of the dispatch, you have it's damn right, irresponsible, nonsensical. And that story is attributed to NCCE boss who we're told is blasting coronavirus MPs. I'm not sure who coronavirus MPs are. And Tolong, teacher who walks 42 kilometers to class, rewarded with standing fan. Interesting. So those are the stories on the front page and the back page of the Daily Dispatch from Mavi and Roland.
Well, thank you, Gifty, but of course you're holding on. Do we have Akable? Not yet. Okay, so let me do a couple of the newspapers before Kable is re-established onto the stream. We do have the Finder, New Faces Takeover. Have pick a number of. We have Sticker, that is Stephen Amwa, and then we have John Kuma also winning for a Jusso. We do have Dakwa Newman. No, this one will be Sheila Battels, I believe. Yeah, and then we have Francis Asenso Boache, who is a Deputy Chief of Staff. There's Eko Asma, and then I can also recognize Tangoba Abayage for Navrongo Central. Dr. Wall calls for unity ahead of election 2020. We're talking the Finder here. 41 MPs ousted is a caption. More than 9 are leaders of various parliamentary committees, and you have going viral a post by lead parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo on Facebook, going viral over the weekend following that tsunami. I called it tsunami. My post, I said, well, they're going to lose a lot of knowledge. Now we go to the front page of the Custodian. The Custodian has a number of interesting stories as well, and it's captured NPP kingmakers dethrone over 30 MPs. Now we know that they are 40-41 in number. 8 committee chairmen ousted in Parliament. Has an attached page. We're talking the Custodian, and it has attached pictures of our own friend Daniel Ochema Boaji. I call him my own friend because he's a regular on the show. He's a member of Parliament for Bantama. He's been replaced as a candidate by Francis Asenso Boache. Was really a tsunami, wasn't it? Floods took place on Saturday, and Seth Kwame Ichampo, also a regular on the show, defeated in the primaries in Impraeso by OPK. Okay, and then we also have Navrongo Central MP Joseph Kofiada beaten in Saturday's parliamentary primaries by Tangoba Abayage and William Ejapon Kwetu, who heads the Education Committee as well, ousted by Kwesi Agyemang in the Akim Oda constituency. Charlie, we also know, but there were some winners, some great winners there as well. Obiamwa, member of Parliament for Ikapim South, he's a regular watcher, but also a great contributor to the show. Good morning to you, Honorable Obiamwa. Good morning. There was this, okay, let me keep quiet. And so we have Hajia Alima Mahama retained to represent the people of Nalarugo Gambaga. And then my member of Parliament, Kingsley, Carlos Ahinkra. I didn't know about the Kingsley, for I only knew him as Carlos Ahinkra. And he, again, won, according to this caption, and the numbers that we saw on Saturday, massively by Tema West delegates.
You know that the Nkoko Member of Parliament is also not going back to parliaments.
Sure,
Eric Kwashi. And then, of course, Amase is out. This is
in April, I will throw. In April,
no
I will throw.
No comments.
Sure, you have no comment to that.
We say congratulations to Sheila Battels Ablekuma North, who is also coming in. So there's lots of new faces, really. Is it automatic that once you're on the ticket of the NPP in these areas, you are in Parliament? Well, that's what we're made to believe, but we know anything is possible. Right. So we'll see in December. It's just around the corner. And then
there's a last paper, though, that I want to, quite interesting, the front page of the Economic Times. I don't know what many of you think about it, but there's a story that is capturing statistics and filed by Elom Desawu, the managing editor of the Economic Times, and he says that job vacancies for first 4 months of the year are up by 61.7%. Now on the ground, we also do know that many people have lost their jobs because of COVID. Maybe that was outside the first 4 months, but I know that, you know, there was the lockdown, and after the lockdown took place for 3 weeks. Subsequently, people lost their jobs. This should be good news, isn't it? It's great indication out there. Okay, so Gifty and Rapia, you're on stream? Okay. In a pick, and I know definitely.
You mentioned Sete Champong, and I was going to say that. I mean, I think that was the blow for me.
You mean on the personal side?
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, I felt sad because I didn't expect him to lose, but you know, it's a contest. So we hope that those who were knocked out of this particular contest will come back again after 4 years. But you know, sometimes when the forces, there were strong forces in some of the areas, when people are determined to knock you out, no matter what, you might fall just for a little bit, but who knows, you can come back again. So huge names knocked off. And I went to Koforidua because there was another big name, Makasibe Yeboah. I mean, I sat on air on Saturday with Dr. Kwesi Jonah, who felt that Makasibe Yeboah should not just be let go, that he should contribute somehow to government because of the role that he plays in Parliament and the work that he does. A very strong contributor to Parliament, a very strong debater as well. Does a lot of work, we're told, which is appreciated by the Ministry of Finance as well. So I thought, why don't I go and sit down with the person who kicked him off and listen on the ground.
So you spoke to?
Michael Befi.
Wow.
Befi.
What a traitor you are.
Am I? But listen, I mean, I realized that almost all the party executive, if not 99.7, are with the, you know, the candidate-elect now, the person who's come in. So he's very popular on the ground. And I'm glad
popular,
yeah, very famous on the ground.
His was quite interesting.
People call him MP already.
Right. You know, there was a number of events, and I always make this allusion to a September 2019 event he convened. It was a health walk over the weekend. He had a number of the party bigwigs. We had Kobna Yeboah, the A's sports broadcaster. We also had the coach of the Ghana Black Stars, Kwesi Appiah, all present. A number of the top leadership, party executives, all present. It was a party event, so you can call it that, party event, but you know, he was the one who convened it. But
he had lots of support from some CEOs as well, even in those primaries. But Gifty, we're talking about the shocks. I'm not sure if you had a big blow yourself, disappointed that somebody is not going back to Parliament.
Well, I think that I go with the flow when it comes to the analysis that our parliamentary affairs correspondent, Joseph Opoku-Gapo did. I was blown away looking at the number of heads of committees that are having to leave Parliament, as well as their deputies. I mean, I thought that it was really interesting because the committees were, and this is something that we discussed on Saturday, Mamabi, that the committees were key committees. Talk about the education committee, the finance committee. I mean, one of the biggest issues we've had is with our economy. Okay, the education, free SHS is one of the biggest things for the party until, it was one of the biggest things that the party talked about until coronavirus came. Okay, and then there is Government Assurances Committee as well, head who is also going. So
there's
for me,
defense. It's Sepechampo.
Yeah, it's a number of people, the sheer number of people that we're losing on these committees. I mean, I feel bad for the government. I mean, of course, they have the majority. But when I spoke to Dr. Asante, he said that Parliament has a way of re-engineering itself. So when it comes to institutional memory, when it comes to knowledge, we can fix that. So you're looking at the majority, that's a big loss for them because they have, 6 months to getting out of Parliament. They won't put in, the thought is that they won't put in their best. The thought is also that they will say, let me give it a last shot. We don't know, we'll have to wait to see. But maybe my pick would be the Daily Dispatch. One of the key concerns from this primaries was the fact that social or physical distancing was totally out of the question, totally, completely out of the question. And so the dispatch is saying that all MPs and staffers must quarantine immediately. I totally agree. We already knew that there were some cases in Parliament and there were some recalcitrant cases because they were still going into the House, even when they had been told not to get to the House and to isolate. So for me, that's my biggest pick. How are we going to ensure that those who went on this program, this primaries, would at least quarantine? Will that even be possible? Is Parliament supposed to be sitting? How will that work? Those are things that I'm very interested in. We can't keep joking with this coronavirus.
Absolutely. If we have a bit of time, shall we do myjoyonline.com? Or Roland, you have a story that you want to highlight a lot more before we go to myjoyonline.com?
No.
All right.
I'll go on. Okay, so as we get all that ready, then I'll do my story. And it's about job vacancy for the first 4 months up by 61.7%. And it says that even in the wake of the scary COVID-19 pandemic, the total growth for jobs advertised in the dailies for the first 4 months of 2020 has increased significantly by 61.7% compared to the same period last year. Now, total advertised jobs in the numbers, but we're talking about the ones published in newspapers or websites, etc. 1,389 jobs as at April 2020, compared with 859 advertised jobs. On a month-to-month basis, according to this story, the number of job vacancies in April was up by 39.6%. And if you read the story, they also make some cumulative comparisons and said that 3,711 advertised jobs were recorded between January and April 2020, compared with a lower figure of some 3,198. Just questions arising out of which portals, which newspapers were looked at, and then if we have job advertisements, does that necessarily translate into increased jobs compared to the number of jobs that were lost within the period? And we have to put this into context because Mamavi and Gifty, if you take a look at the worldwide statistics, there's great indication. By the close of April, over 30 million people were out of jobs in the US. And that ultimately also had a certain effect or a net effect on jobs, investment in Africa and in Ghana. And indeed, we even have experiences in our own local firms of jobs being cut because of sheer numbers of not able to meet revenue and operational cost numbers and its effect. So I don't know. I know this is good. It's good news, but I just don't know.
Perhaps you're skeptical.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not quite sure what to say about this. It's interesting to me that one of the things we've had a problem with as a country is our ability to put together statistics, especially when it comes to employment. We've not seen any government or any political parties that's able to give us a comprehensive list of who has a job and who hasn't. So I don't know if I completely believe in these statistics, but that's my very subjective view. It's anybody's go.
I agree. Yeah. All right. So the president says, I will be the last person to put the lives of the Akufo-Addo graduates at risk because that is how they come to be known. We're going to be putting the spotlight on the senior high students. The final years were going back to school today. The other thing, I saw a notice, I think this was to heads of the institutions, which said media should not be allowed. You speak to the media at your own risk. I think I read that in one of the notices to the schools. And I'm wondering if they're going to be hostile to us, how then would we be able to report on the activities of the senior high schools, especially when they've said no parents are allowed throughout the period when they're in school.
Well, that's some serious gagging right there.
But we have to say, Gifty and Mamavi, that even though it has not been a direct directive, this has always been that when you interact with the heads of the schools, they'll tell you, look, I could have a problem with my head of the education circuit or the regional or the district, etc. They will tell you that.
Circuit supervisor. So there's a process. You need to clear it with the circuit supervisor. And once the circuit supervisor allows it, you can go in and talk to anybody. I think that people should be allowed to out of their free will, contribute and speak about their experiences. These are the people's experiences. And you can't stop them from talking about their experiences. I mean, that's infringing on their right of freedom to free speech or freedom to express themselves. And I think that's wrong.
Hopefully, we will be able to, have some of them open up to us, because that's the only way parents can also be assured, especially when they are not allowed to visit their children. That's the only way they can be assured that they're safe and they're doing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but seriously, what are we trying to hide? I mean, it will blow up in our faces if we're trying to hide anything. That's what I think.
Absolutely. All right.
We'll do myjoyonline.com. Then we'll do sports. Okay, so we have myjoyonline.com. We'll quickly go through and we'll get all the latest updates.
Okay, I'm not sure we're still quite ready with that. So, Gifty, this is where we have to end the review. We'll see you later on Pulse this afternoon.
Thank you, Gifty.
As I say, you're back on Pulse at 3 p.m.
Definitely.
Of course, of course.
Do you want to share your slogan with us?
Oh, no. Mama V. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye, Gifty. We have a little secret we're not sharing on the show. So Gifty is back later on at 3 p.m. Make a date on the Pulse right here on Joy News. I think we have a minute or some few seconds to do myjoyonline.com before we go, Roland Walker.
Well, definitely. So we'll go through our main portal, the best portal in Ghana. Government to absolve 2020 WASI fees had been announced on the onset, again reiterated in the 12th public speech by the president. Playback Akufo-Addo's 12th address on measures taken against spread of coronavirus. Armed men storm Nigerian High Commission in Ghana, demolish uncompleted apartments, and apparently were told that they will sue traditional council by a court order they had, decided to go in there, and they said they appropriately did it. But we've known that our own Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has issued a statement to the effect that they will investigate. Now the Osu Traditional Council has come out, so we already do know the perpetrators, whether it's lawful or unlawful. I guess that we'll get to know in the next 12 hours. MPP primaries, defeated candidate takes back 250 bicycles he donated to delegate party executives. I wish I would open the story. I read it though, but that's quite interesting. So it means that he even never donated it at all. It's not a donation.
Well, he did, but I guess there was a condition. There was a condition.
It's a conditional handover. So the condition was that if I win, I won't collect it back. But Roland, of course, the delegates, they know.
I brought you bread from B. Foster.
Fantastic.
I heard that if you go to Copperia, you must
So you bought one whole loaf.
Doesn't matter. I brought you some.
You decided to.
You can eat it after the show. All right, stay with us.
We've got after
we've got sports
the journey to interact with Michael Beffy, PC.
We've got sports coming your way, but of course I can't go without saying congratulations to our friend Obi Amwa, who retained his seat. Is going back to Parliament again. It was a big win. Congratulations to you. We've got sports coming right after this. Stay with us.
And we told you, we'll try as much as possible, get into the archives, well, just a near archives, just yesterday, that's Sunday and Saturday, bring to you some interesting stories, but we will intersperse all these with some great conversation. Mamavi, we're looking at some of the big falls, but also discussing the victories as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be connecting on Zoom to get some of the new faces that we would see. Well, it's not automatic, like I've said, even though it's strongly believed that these are NPP strongholds. And in some of the places, when you find yourself on the ballot, you're automatically in Parliament. So we'll get some of the new faces via Zoom and have a conversation with them. Madam Tangomba Abayage is a parliamentary candidate for Navrongo Central. She's going to be joining us. Hello, Madam there. I can see you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Ms. Ali Dusedu, I can see you. I saw a very... Dr. Ali Dusedu, are you with us?
Yes, please. Good morning, Mama V.
Good morning. You are smiling. Which constituency seats did you capture?
I can't disclose it now.
Okay, I will start with you, Dr. Ali Dusedu. 40 MPs will not be going back to Parliament. Some of them sit as chair of some very important committees in Parliament. Ordinarily, for those of us who are not party people, we're surprised that they are not going to go back to Parliament, but the party itself does not necessarily think so. I wonder what you make of what has happened.
I think it speaks volumes to the level that our democracy has become. If you want to look at it, it could be interpreted in two broad senses. One, people think you can be held to account once you breach the trust with the people. So from that particular perspective, you are looking at this defeat purely from the perspective of accountability. The people have elected you to go and serve their interests. And over the years, they have realized, or they have reasons to believe, that you were not able to do as they had wanted you to do. So basically, from that perspective, it is pure an element of accountability. But two, people are also looking at it from the perspective of inducement. It is not just the fact that we're not able to do our work very well, but people came out and were able to outspend our efforts. And for that matter, we have not been voted for because we were not a match for the people who have turned out to overspend us. So the first instance, if it is actually true that these incumbent MPs were not able to win simply because of their inability to live up to the expectation of the constituents, then it speaks to the level of democratic deepening, that the Ghanaian voter has matured, the Ghanaian voter cannot be taken for granted, the Ghanaian voter cannot be lied to. Regardless of who you are, whether a sitting MP or whosoever you are, if you do not live up to your obligation of the social contract, then the people are going to kick you out. If that is the case, then every MP who is elected or every politician who is elected will now be very mindful of the fact that there will be a day of reckoning. But if you look at it from the other angle, it cheapens our democracy. It makes our democracy look so cheap that people can do so much work, people can sacrifice, people can put up a lot of effort. Then at the end of the day, it's just somebody who is able to marshal so much resources. You come and then you buy him out. If that is the case, then it means that the people that we are going to elect to be our members of parliament will technically not be cut for the job. It's just because of their ability to spend more than others. And if that is the case, then we are going to have a lot of challenges with the level of reasoning that will go to the parliamentary debate, with the level of scrutiny that will go to looking at bills and legislations that come before Parliament, and with the level of representation that we are going to get moving forward for our constituents, for the country, and everyone else in this country.
So from the analysis that you've done yourself, Dr. Alido Seidu, what is, which one will fit the box? Is it buying out, so the person who has more buying out, or it's simply because they didn't do enough work on the ground and the people were dissatisfied?
I think we cannot paint all these constituencies the same brush. They may be multiplicity of reasons, and there may be instances where these two reasons play out. So if you go to Bantama, for example, the losing candidate was very categorical in subsequent interviews that he was not a match financially for the deputy chief of staff. And he has reasons to believe that monies exchanged hands and he was outspent. So I'm not saying what he's saying is true, but it's an allegation. And that allegation might have been informed by experience and events that he has witnessed. There was also another instance where another legislature lost. I can't remember that constituency. And he went and took the 250 bicycles he has bought for the delegates. I made mention that he gave constituency executives 500, delegates 300, and each bicycle cost him like 300 Ghana cedis. So the whole issue of monetization of our politics has been with us. And I don't think it's going to go anytime soon. Simply because it boils down to the issue of what? Responsiveness.
Pardon?
It boils down to the issue of responsiveness. If we vote for our MPs, how responsive are they to our needs between the time that we have voted for them till the next elections. If they are not being responsive within this time, then the only way delegates or constituents can demand their pound of flesh is technically at the time that they are coming back to seek their mandate. In that instance, then you see that they will make instantaneous demands for exorbitant resources and money, which they wouldn't have gotten from the last time that they voted for them till the next elections. So in some cases, it could have been an issue of poor performance, poor showing, being responsive to the constituents, and they have been punished. In other instances, it may be an issue of what? Being overspent. And in some cases, it may be both. The MP knew that I wasn't up to the task, and the only way I can be retained is to spend money. But unfortunately, maybe others have been able to overspend them. So it could be a multiplicity of factors, including these two factors.
Okay, Dr. Alido Seidu. All right, Dr. Seidu, stay with us. Joining us as parliamentary candidates for Ahanta West, Mr. Kojokum. Thank you for joining the conversation and congratulations to you. We spoke on Friday. You were pretty confident that you were going to win, and you've done it.
Thank you too for this opportunity, and a very warm warning to your viewers and listeners.
All right, Madam Abayage, let me come to you. You did campaign on issues. I remember you saying strongly you didn't want the insult, you wanted to stick with the issues. But you did manage to kick out a very strong force from Parliament, a man who's been there fourth term now, and he's not going to go back because of you. How did you manage this?
Thank you very much. As I told you in my previous interview, we had an issue-based campaign. We had a well-calculated campaign. We had a strong campaign team, strong and committed campaign team. And I think our messages were well packaged, and they resonated very well with the people. And despite the tough contest that it was, they bought our message and voted for us.
All right. Madam Abayage, I'll come back to you. Let me also say hello and welcome to Col Vincent Asefua, who is now the candidate for Old Tafo. Congratulations to you, Vincent.
Thank you.
I guess this means you're not going to be at the Ministry of Education going forward.
I have not made a decision yet. I'm here to speak to my minister to know the way forward.
Okay, great.
If he so wishes that I should continue helping him as an obedient servant, I think I will gladly do that.
Mr. Kum, let me come to you. I think you spelled out your message to the delegates on Friday to us. But going forward, what would we see you, make in terms of the changes going forward? Mr. Kojokum.
Constituency. Yes, hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I think the results from my constituency now shows that the people, the delegates, still have confidence in me that I have the capacity to continue the work that I've done for the past 3.5 years. Moving forward, the party itself is fashioning out its manifesto, and I'm sure in the next few weeks, the manifesto will be outdoors, where the key thematic areas for our campaign 2020 will be made known to all the candidates. And I believe that going forward, the 3 areas of focus that I outlined last time we spoke, I'm still going to focus on those areas because, as I indicated, human capacity development and good health is the key to success. Once you have the human capital and once the people are in good health, then whatever projects, whatever programs that you have for your people, with the help of His Excellency the President, you are capable of doing it so that you bring smiles, you bring development and growth to the people in your constituents.
Madam Abayage, how much money went into this campaign? Is it something that you're able to put a figure on?
Who does that? Nobody does that. We don't do that in politics.
Well, there are women out there who are watching. They want to know how you did this. I mean, there are a lot of...
We worked hard, of course. Every campaign, I mean, goes with money. But I can't sit on TV and say I spent this much money or I spent this much money.
Okay, but at least you're not broke, are you? 2 days after the primaries, you're not broke.
No, I'm not broke. I'm definitely not broke. I told you that once people buy into your vision for a project or a program, they'll support you. I mean, I alone, I'm just an ordinary civil servant. I take the regional minister's salary. My salary alone wouldn't have been able to get me to campaign even a day. But you have people who thought that, no, this lady has a message and a mission which they think would be good for the constituency, and they bought into it and supported me. So I'm not broke.
We've been looking at the percentage of women who have made it through, even the number of women who picked forms to enter this contest. It's not encouraging. What do you think we can do to get a lot more women inspired to want to be there, and then also be assured that once they put themselves out, they will be voted for?
First of all, it takes a lot of hard work. You, the female yourself, must be, or the woman yourself, must be motivated to do it. You shouldn't be told to go and do it. Trust me, getting into leadership, any woman who wants to go into leadership suffers a lot of pain along the line, insults, criticisms, all manner of things that nobody would want to go through. No female will want to go through that. No husband will want to see the wife go through that. No brother will want to see the sister go through that. These are the issues that actually stop a lot of women from putting themselves forward. They are scared of the things they'll hear. In fact, some of the things that were said about me are so unprintable you wouldn't want to hear. And along the line, people were like, do you really have to go through this? And if I wasn't that strong character, I would have just bowed out and said, you know, enough is enough, I won't go through this. So these are the things. Once you make up your mind to go through and I will encourage women, no matter who you are, to try and put themselves out to reach their highest point of self-actualization. It's very important. It's not easy. It has never been easy for any woman at all. But once you decide to do that, then you've got to be able to take the bullets as they come and not bow out along the line. So, and then once you get in also, society has, you know, it's, especially in a patriarchal society like ours, it's difficult for people to accept that a female is coming. One of the campaign was the messages they used against me was, she's a woman, she's a woman. First of all, I'm a woman, I can't beat Kofi Ada. Now they are saying I'm a woman, I can't beat Samson. I'm wondering, I've beaten Kofi Ada, I don't see why I can't beat Samson. Samson is a small fry in the scheme of affairs in politics, you know. So that is it. They will say all these things. But I will encourage society that the time has come for us to accept women in leadership. You know, Kofi Annan said it years back, I think in 2000, when he was launching the Millennium Development Goals at that time, that you need the critical mass of 30%. Any country that wants to develop will need at least a critical mass of 30% of women representation to succeed. And here we are struggling so hard to get even 10%, to get 12, to get 11. And yet when women come out and they are strong enough to show face, they suffer that Herculean task of climbing the ladder. You know, one step for the man, the woman will have to do about 2 or 3 steps.
Vincent, let me come to you. Is the message to the delegates the same as, you know, going forward to the entire constituents? Hello, Vincent?
Hello?
Vincent, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm asking, we know for the delegates, you're dealing with a particular group of people. Now that you're candidates, I'm asking if the message going forward is going to be same.
Absolutely not. The delegate is a group of people who vote based on their experience in party politics. They want to hear a certain kind of policies. They want to hear a certain kind of
Can you kindly just speak up a bit for me? I think you're very low.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yes. When they give you the mandate, then you now meet the constituency executives, and you may have to also listen to the general public as far as the constituency is concerned, so that you could listen to their needs, draft policies based on their needs. It has been the case of even the entire nation when the flag bearer would want to bring out the manifesto. People do listen and talk, listen to the needs of the people before you could be able to bring out a manifesto. And that is exactly what we are going to do.
Because of the way you are sounding,
I think it's sounding more. It's sounding more like an MP now.
Did you use up all your money on Saturday?
Just raise your voice a bit for us.
This venture is very capital intensive, but as my sister said, when you have very good ideas, if you think that you are able and capable of doing this, you normally have people who come and support, buy into your ideas. And that is exactly what I did. I'm a young man. In fact, I've always said that working at the Ministry of Education as a public relations officer is not something that can earn you more than even 6,000 a month. So obviously you cannot go into such a venture if you want to live and do this based on your salary. But we got the support of people who believe in youth also entering into Parliament and bringing about fresh brains to Parliament so that we'll be able to blend with the experience in Parliament. And that is how come we were able to get the support to be able to prosecute this campaign in order for. And I thank the Almighty God that He gave us victory.
You're also stepping into some huge shoes there, aren't you? How are you going to make your presence felt? And I'm not by that question saying that it's automatic that you're going to be in Parliament. You still have a lot of work to do before you get there. But if you should, how are you going to fill those shoes?
Absolutely. I think that in 2004, when Dr. Anthony Akutose was going to Parliament, the words that we are using on him today couldn't have been used on him in 2004. Basically because we gave him the opportunity for him to serve, for him to learn on the job. And that is how come today we all know that Dr. Anthony Akutose is the man that we know today. And so I know that given the opportunity, in some few years, we will be able to also get to that level that Dr. Anthony Akutose was able to go. Of course, if there is no humility, there is no tenacity to be able to make sure that you get to the level that he was able to get to, then of course it means that you won't be able to do what he was able to do. But I agree and accept that that's a huge issue. In fact, when you mention the name of Anthony Akutose, everybody talk about the economic messiah and all that, because everybody knows that this is a man who contributes so well, especially at the economic management meetings and the management of the economy in this country. But be that as it may, there's a man who is saying that now he's tired, he can't continue. You need to get somebody to be able to groom him or her so that that person will be able to fill that issue. So we are ready and we are prepared to make that difference.
Mr. Kum, and this question is to all of you as well. We've heard Mr. Eric Amankwable, who was a candidate, an aspirant at Sing North, who didn't win. Obviously, not happy that he didn't win. Going back to take back his bicycles or the things that he gave out. I wonder what you gave out in this primaries. I'm not going to ask if you had not won, would you go back there for the things that you gave out, Mr. Kum?
Yes, the campaign actually doesn't start on voting day. Once you have an aspiration to be in Parliament, your relationship with your people, your interactions with them, how long you stay with them, how many funerals you attend, how many engagements. So these are all activities that you cannot place value on. So it's not like a one-day event that you meet people and then by just a single day's act, they go to vote for you. So the campaign that we've done now, or the elections that were held on Saturday, the cost is not just the Saturday event. It started the day you were voted into power and you went into parliament. So right from there, the expenditure starts. So it's not a one-day expenditure that, oh, on voting day, you move to people and you facilitate their transport arrangements. So it's unfortunate that our colleague who lost has done this, but it's a lesson for all of us. So what it really means is that you really have to identify what the delegates want, and then once you're able to do that for them very well, then you are certain that when it comes to the day of reckoning, they also remember you and give you the votes as expected.
Ms. Ali said, I'll come back to you for a reaction. Just want to go around for the last time. Madam Ambayage, you agree that it is not just Parliament. In fact, it's the constituents, the funerals, the weddings, the naming ceremonies, all of them at the same level as the work in Parliament. Do you agree that this is going to be your life? And I'm predicting that you will not remain regional minister. You will get a ministerial appointment in Accra. And so would you be able to combine that?
Well, of course, you've got to be there for the people. I also remember that the last time we had the conversation, I mentioned that you've got to find time to be with the constituents. Of course, I mean, that's why you were voted. Yes, you have been voted as a candidate, possibly to go to parliament, which means that you are going to be a lawmaker, but you are also representing your people in parliament. You've got to constantly go back to account for what the duty they have assigned you. It's not always an easy one, but you've got to find time in between. People take these issues seriously, value issues, funerals, as he mentioned, weddings, particularly funerals. Even if it's a wedding and you are not able to attend, well, you can later on throw in a call or send a parcel or something. But particularly funerals, our people put a lot of value on funerals. So if you don't go with them when they are in pain and you just wait for one day, then it's problematic. I agree with him that it's a relationship from the beginning. Once I put myself together for this whole venture and decided on it, we have been moving almost every weekend. You have to go to Navrongo for one issue or the other. You've got to be there. You've got to show presence. Once you do that, you are building your delegates base. On day by day, you might be winning somebody who originally might not have decided to vote for you. So you don't wait till the last day or the last night to come with, as you said, goodies and all those stuff to share. When you do that, the delegates assume that you are buying them. And when you do that and you go and you don't come back again, the next time you are coming back with the same items, then they will treat you on the same level. They wouldn't do anything for you. They will wait for you to come, and then you come and give them the goodies. And then they'll get tired because they just assume that, look, this person is using us, so let us take our own decisions. So I agree, we've got to keep that strong link. We've got to keep it and not break it along the line. It's going to be difficult, but we have to find a way of doing that.
Dr. Ali Seidu, did you think we will ever get to a point where the work of parliament and attending funerals and allowing constituents to come to your home as and when, sometimes to eat and share their problems, will be on the same level?
I at least expected that, because it's conventionally it's not part of democracy, but democracy is also practiced within a context. So we cannot do away with the context. The African context is largely a social context. You know, we have affinity relationship with other people that we cannot take for granted. So every democracy is practiced within a context. Democracy is actually a way of life. And by way of life, it means your relationship with people, your relationship with both state and non-state institutions, and how you are able to manage that relationship. So in the context of Africa, democracy has now grown to include the African way of life. And I believe if you are a leader doesn't only lead in terms of fashioning out policies and programs that better the lives of the people, but the leader is somebody who understands the personal lives and challenges of the people that they lead. If you are able to get into the personal life of the people that you lead and make sure that you make them happy, then you are going to lead them in a manner that they will never question you, even if you do wrong. So I think it's the context. The African way of living has now been integrated into the former democratic processes. And you sometimes see that element of trade-offs and then banter between the Western conceptualization of democracy. The Western way of life is more about individual values and individual rights. And the African way of life is more about community and communal lifestyles. So you often see some of the institutions, the legislations, the laws, the protocols, and the conventions speaking to what? Individual rights. That is so important to the Western lifestyle compared to our own communal way of living. So you often see that element of trade-off and tensions between the kind of democracy that is practiced in the West and the African way of democracy integrated into the African value system. So you are definitely going to see that element of life playing out strongly.
Yeah.
I think I really like Madam Abayaga. I listened before she won the election. I listened to her messages and her campaign and was really marveled. Looking at only 12% out of 88 women who contested and the way she has been able to come, I think she deserves so much congratulations. And I think she's a very powerful woman. We are looking for the next Hawa Yakubu in Parliament. She's really great. I like her so much.
Thank you.
And I'm wondering, Dr. Ali Dusaidu, if you give, I mean, they give out a lot of gifts out of their own free will, even though they needed their votes. Going forward, the people would expect same. They would expect the school fees. They would expect, I understand some people even go forward to ask for money so they can get married. Where are they going to get it from? I mean, if you don't have any other appointments and all you have is being a member of parliament and you have all these requirements to meet, how are they expected to do that?
It's really one of the serious challenges MPs face. We've done a lot of surveys in the run-up to the December elections. And one of the things that kept coming up was the unnecessary demands that constituents put on their MPs. It's really serious. I know the MPs don't pay. If you look at the formal payments and rewards that they get, it is not enough to be able to take care of all these needs. So I think moving forward, there should be constant education to let people know that it is not part of the work of the MP. Though some of them do promise them and then they do it. So what you have to do is to give them, teach them how to fish rather than keep giving them fish. So what MPs may do moving forward is to liaise with their local district level institutions or NGOs or partner organizations to be able to set up lifelong training institutions or career-based learning centers so that it could train these people and then they can help them with resources that can help them be able to live independently from the constant demand. Okay. If you are able to do that and then there's so much pressure, you can refer them or you can reference them to what you have been able to do to actually make them live independent lifestyles. Okay. But if you are not able to set up those kind of life learning, career building enterprises at satellite points within your constituency, you're just going to dip your money into your own pocket. You are not going to be able to do it, or two, you'll be forced to look for resources other than what you legally earn, and that can also lead you into trouble.
So let me ask Vincent Ekowasefwa, who's on the phone with us. Going forward, how do you intend dealing with all the demands that will come forward? Okay, we don't have him, but Mr. Kum, can I ask you that question? I mean, you're familiar with this, but now that you're reaching out not only to MPP delegates, you're reaching out to all MPP people, and you're reaching out also to NDC persons and those who are not necessarily aligned. How are you going to teach them how to fish?
Yes, that's why you realize I was talking about human capacity development earlier on. Once the people are well-resourced, they have good jobs, they have something worth doing, then certainly the pressures on you will be reduced. And if the government is also rolling out a lot of programs, planting for food and jobs and all the flagship programs that were introduced by His Excellency the President, you get as many of your people to enroll into some of these programs and projects. And certainly the demands on you would not be that much. And you realize that our constituencies too are not the same. I mean, if you go to Ayawaso West Wugon, the demands on the MP there will not be the same as the demands on a rural MP. So you have to have a balancing act. And then I keep on saying that we all do not have the same demands. Somebody will just need your presence at his funeral, and for him, that's okay. Somebody will just want you to pick up his or her call, and for him, he's comfortable. Oh, I'm able to call my MP and speak to him. For him, that is his greatest problem. Once you're able to speak to him anytime he calls, he is okay. So there's skills identification and there's a demand identification. Once you're able to go through that, then you'll be able to satisfy some of the demands. And then honesty. When the person comes to you and he comes with his problem, and he's certain in his mind that, look, my MP could have helped me, but due to the pressures on him, he's unable to help me this time around. So communication. It's not just sufficient for the person to come to you and you just tell him, no, I can't help you. But when you're able to persuade him why at this point in time you can't be of help, and he believes in what you say, you are good to go. So it's just a matter of knowing how to live with them, knowing how to even receive their problems and the kind of solutions that you offer to them. And once you do that, I'm sure your people will get along with you.
Madam Abayage, same question to you. Because I don't want you to be under undue pressure.
Well, as the doctor said, we are a social community. That's how Africans are, and Ghanaians particularly. Even more so our part of the country because of our poverty levels. You have to find a way of balancing yourself. As my brother said, if you don't have, you don't have. But you've got to communicate that well to them. It's not every time you can satisfy everybody's needs. Those that you can satisfy, you satisfy. Those that you can't, you explain and let them understand that, look, I can't do this one. Maybe I can do it in the future. I can do it now. Once you communicate well with your people and find a way of linking up with them, sometimes their demands may be quite out of the ordinary. You know, some of the demands that requests people have made of me are like, wow. But then some also is just a phone call, check, responding to their text messages and all that. As I keep saying, nobody is saying that it's an easy task, but you've got to find a way of satisfying those needs, both physical, financial, and sometimes mental, psychological. Somebody just wants you to talk to him or her and then ease some pain. You just need to do the balancing route. That's it for me, yes.
Dr. Ali to say maybe a final one. We've reported on these primaries held in areas where the NPP has majority, well, where the NPP has seats. Is it automatic that for Hunter West, for instance, for Navrongo Central, Ota, for all these areas, is it automatic that they've made it once they are on the ballot and they are MPP, they're going to win?
It's still, yeah, you can say it's likely, but I still believe campaigning for primaries, the target audience and the people that vote is quite different from when you are going for national level elections. Even at the primaries, you are dealing with only your party members, and not even all your party members, a selected privileged class of your party members called delegates. So it may be very easy to come all of them to give them money or to please them or whatsoever it is. But when you are going out to the major elections, you are speaking not only to your party people, but to people who doesn't belong to your party and people who are still undecided to vote. So sometimes it's not just about winning, but it is also reinforcing your power, the margin of victory that you are going to get, but also how much you can contribute to the presidential ticket. So maybe if you are contesting, for example, if you have won a primaries at Bantama, it's on the MPP ticket, it's very likely that you are moving towards a parliament. But what are you going to demonstrate to the party that you are better than the previous candidate? By increasing the margin of victory for yourself, but also for the presidential candidate, because the presidential candidate's vote is cumulative. It's not only a stronghold. Yours is first past the post. This is a threshold, 50+1. So I think they shouldn't be complacent that, oh, this constituency is a safe constituency for what, MPP or NDC, and for that matter, I'm going to relax. Because the person that you have defeated in the primaries maybe will come back again, or another person will look at these particular small mistakes that you are making and capitalize on it and come back for the seat one day. So I think they shouldn't be complacent. I congratulate all of them and I wish them well, but the journey has just begun. There is more fight to do in December, and I wish them well and all the best.
Just a final one, and I want to go to Madam Abaya again, Mr. Kum. Ms. Ali to say, I will need your thoughts. And I'm not saying your constituencies necessarily, but we saw the pictures on Saturday. We continue to see the pictures, the videos. People absolutely did not pay attention to the health directives because of COVID-19. In the jubilations and people were not wearing masks, not social distancing. In the aftermath of the primaries, Mr. Kum, what's your reaction to the fact that supporters did not pay attention to the health directives?
Yeah, that's very unfortunate, but we work around it, and I'm not anticipating any issues arising out of some of these over-jubilation that characterized the events. But I believe that measures will be put in place. We still have a long way to go, and then we will do all within our best to protect our constituents, because you need the constituents to be healthy and alive before they can even register when the voter registration exercise begins. And then they need to be healthy and alive up to December to enable them even vote for you on the election day. So we've learned the lessons, and moving forward, we take immediate steps to correct whatever errors or whatever things that happened that were not supposed to have happened.
Madam Abaya, what's your reaction to the videos and the pictures?
Yes, I agree. You know, sometimes when we are a bit excited, we take things overboard. It's unfortunate as it is. I'm sure that moving on, you know, unfortunately, we know the education has gone down, where people are aware of the disease, they are aware of all the protocols, but the human nature is like that once in a while, when you get excited, you just forget yourself and you do all the wrong things. And campaigns are full of, it's an adrenaline, filled activity. And I'm sure that it's this kind of adrenaline shot into people's heads that made them to do that. But maybe once we have gone past this, the next thing is to get our people educated more that, look, next time, please, even if you won't do anything at all, just put on the mask. Because once you put on the mask and you don't keep touching your faces and touching people, you are good to go. One thing I noticed is that people were not shaking hands, you know, they will use the elbow to greet and all that. But we were close to each other and ruffling each other. So we should be careful next time when we are celebrating. I agree with you.
Well, I hope that going forward, it will be part of your campaign as well.
Exactly.
The COVID message. Well, congratulations to you again. And I can't help but ask, you came back from Italy, you went to Navrongo, now you're going to Parliament. Was that the plan from the beginning?
Maybe that was God's plan, not mine. Mine was to go to Italy. Coming back to Ghana wasn't my plan. In fact, whilst I was in Italy, I was praying that I was enjoying Italy and was actually praying that the president will extend my term when he comes in next. For his next term, he will let me still stay in Italy. And yet, I was the first to be kicked out of Italy back to Ghana. I'm sure it was a divine plan by God, not me.
Well, we wish you the very best. Thank you for spending a bit of your morning with us. All the best with the campaign going forward. Mr. Kum,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You are sure you're going to get it, and you have done it. Congratulations to you again. The very best with the campaign going forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's parliamentary candidate for Hunter West. We've also had a conversation with the candidate for Navrongo Central. She kicked a huge person from Parliament, Joseph Kofiada, who is the aviation minister, a man who's been there for 16 years. Well, if he's done with this term, then that will be 16 years, and it's the end of the road for him. We do not know if he will come back some other time. Dr. Ali Seidu, I'm not sure you're, okay, so you're with me. Dr. Seidu, there are people who have said that they will either go independent. There are people who are dissatisfied with the process. There was an injunction in Subing. We would later hear that elections were going on. There was another constituency as well. What do you predict going forward? What are the sciences that you're seeing?
I think the MPP as a party will have to address these concerns with the very limited time that we have. If you look at some of the constituencies, most of them won by less than 2,000 votes, a little bit of 550 or 500 votes. If people begin to show this element of dissatisfaction and the party's conflict resolution structures doesn't address their concerns, they may come out openly and contest as independent. And that is going to divide the vote of the MPP and hand over victory to the NDC or any other candidate that is contesting outside of the MPP family. That is one way some of them may address it. Others may not come out openly and contest independent, and you know that they are protesting. They are going to keep quiet. They are going to campaign behind the scenes and to undermine the one who has won the primaries. And at the end of the day, that person is going to lose. What others may also do is that they will campaign among their followers not to go out and vote, and that apathy will endanger the kind of victory that we're going to have in 2020, not only at the parliamentary level, but also at the presidential level. I know a lot of things happened which wasn't satisfactory to all the contestants that were involved, even including the decision to protect 65 of the contestants without any reason or explanation given for doing that. But I think what is important is that the MPP must put up a committee or conflict resolution mechanism to deal with these grievances. And what is important is that it's not just setting up that mechanism, but that mechanism must include people who the aggrieved parties can trust. If somebody sat in the committee that disqualified me, and then a conflict resolution mechanism is constituted, and that same person is sitting in that committee to deal with my concerns, I wouldn't be so satisfied that he can do a very fair job to me. So I think the people that they are going to put up into these committees to address these challenges must be people who have integrity among the concerned parties so that they can listen to them and then agree to some of the solutions that will come. People will never be happy. It happens in all the time. But their ability to institute a conflict resolution mechanism as quickly as possible, constituted by credible people that these parties with concerns can trust, can help them. But if they are not able to do that, we know how difficult it is to be in opposition, even with a minority, not to talk to be in government with a minority. And I think if they are not able to do this well, it is going to play so much to the advantage of the NDC, and they are going to have a full day in December.
I was just going to ask about the NDC. How should they be positioning themselves with this news that 40 of the MPs are not going back, most of them very crucial in Parliament? Is this, does this send a certain message that the NDC can win in areas where, you know, they've been noted as MPP strongholds, for instance?
I think most of the seats that the NDC lost in 2016 was not just because people were not happy with the candidates or the party. It has to do with some of these issues that the MPP are facing now. Primaries, people were disqualified and all those things, and the NDC wasn't very quick enough to deal with the concerns. Some of them went independent, others told their supporters not to vote, and all those things. So the NDC is seriously poised to be able to take back some of these seats if they work out very well, especially in cases where we have newcomers playing on board. You see, the old guys had a little bit of experience in election management, election campaigning, and they knew the system better. These new people that are coming in, if they are not able to liaise very well with the incumbent that they have done with and work together and learn from them, it's going to be very difficult. So it is important that the newly successful candidates should find a way to patch up with the old ways that they have taken out of the scene so that they can learn from them. Because some of them, this is their first time
they are going to contest in a national election of this caliber, constituting of about maybe 16, 17, 18 million voters. So it's not like a child's play. So with the kind of experience that they have, they need a little bit of support from the party, the incumbent candidates that they have defeated, to be able to match up for the old guys in the NDC who are going to contest against them. Other than that, the NDC candidates can use their element of experience in election and election contest and be able to patch up with the grievances that led to their defeat in 2016, and they can emerge clear winners in 2020 December.
Just before we wrap up on this, your biggest shock in the primaries, who were you not expecting would be kicked out and has been?
Makasibe Yeboah.
A lot of people say that.
He has done a lot. I think he has been on the scene at the national level, at parliamentary level, especially on finance and everything. So I at least expected that. I still don't understand why the MPP didn't protect him if they had protected other candidates.
Well, you've been talking about democracy. If they had protected him, what would be the democracy in this?
But Mama, if they had protected 65 MPs, what went into that justification? Why did they protect them and not him?
So you strongly believe that Makasibe Yeboah should have been protected?
Yeah, I think he was doing so well for the party, to be honest with you.
Okay. I had a conversation with the man who knocked him off, and he said, if the party thought he was doing so well, then why didn't they protect him? The fact that they didn't means that the views that some of us hold, not the same as the party.
Yeah, so sometimes it's not just whether the candidate is doing so well or not. Maybe it also has to do with the candidate's relationship with the party hierarchy or with the president, chief of staff.
All right, and then just when we are joined,
the party hierarchy, even if you have some of this, they may want to teach you a lesson, that kind of thing.
All right, Dr. Ali Seidu, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for the analysis. He's a political scientist with the University of Ghana, Legon. Dr. Ali Seidu, also the candidates that we've had a conversation with. Roland Walker.
Yeah.
Biggest shocker I keep hearing is Makasibe Yeboah.
Well, definitely. But I don't think that for me it was a shock. You could see it coming. I would say in the British democratic system, they call them shadow ministers. And so a shadow minister is somebody who plays a role in opposition that somebody will play while in government. And he was the shadow minister for the MPP when they were in opposition. And we also had a shocker during the period of the Kufuor period, when we had Dr. Kofi Kunedu-Apreku playing that same role, but was not given the position. Rather, first time went to Yao Safo-Mafo. And if you look at the actions and the posture of the party leadership prior to this primary, it was for Michael Berfi, the Free Zones Board boss. So ultimately, it also meant that the party was gravitating towards a certain direction. And it happens in every democracy. You'll find it in the Trump administration, you'll find it whether it's for Boris Johnson, etc. It's a normal thing in a democracy. But for us, the ordinary people, those who tend to work with the politicians and the public, by the general observation, we seem to identify with certain people because of their contribution at the national level.
Yeah.
But this is how it works in our democracy. If you don't align yourself well with the party executives in your constituency, and this also will transition or trickle down to the delegates because they hold positions as other former MPs or as polling station agents, etc., then you're in big trouble. And we've seen a number of MPs, they are very vociferous at the national level in parliament on national issues, but they are terrible with their relationship with the constituents. And
the party executives.
We're talking the party executives and then the normal party foot soldiers and office holders. And if you do that, despite how big you are accountable to them when it comes to them giving you the mandate to represent the constituency. And that's where you are in trouble. It doesn't matter the number of funerals you go, because you attended funerals or outdoorings of people who are not delegates. And averagely, we were told by Evans Timapu who is director of elections for the party, that averagely we have between 400 and 450 to about 750 that's on the average of delegates in each constituency.
I think we've already had 560
exactly.
or so.
So we have the average of that. So 400, 450, then the highest will be, about. So if you are not accountable to that, you can share all the TVs in the world, like Obama, Vicente, Odote. So
I saw the blender.
Exactly.
We've seen the bicycle.
People share television. Television sets, if it's out of date and is going out of manufacture, etc., will be around 800, 900 for a nice cool
you even
Samsung.
put a cost on it.
Yeah.
We've seen the cylinders. We've seen cylinders.
And you can get
it
discounted if you're buying it in bulk. So they may sell it for you 600, etc. You may share it to the delegate, they'll still not vote for you.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, the lesson it should be, because we've seen new entrants at the time they're making entry into parliament have very good relationship. By the time they wind up 2 terms, 3 terms, they are very bad in their relationship. Just because they feel they are getting too many calls, they are getting too many requests, etc. But that is what you bargain for, and you're getting it. So you have to live up to that responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you should stand somewhere, because you understand the politics. That's the politics.
You can't decide that. I've heard many MPs say that Parliament, there's nothing in it. It's a lie. There are a lot of things in it. There are a lot of
What is in it?
You get societal accreditation and stature. You are respected more in the society than ordinary people.
You're called honorable.
Exactly.
What else?
You are able to get access to many things that ordinary people won't get.
Well, true.
Somebody may be an MD of a bank, but can't enter High Commission easily.
Well, your letterhead is strong.
Exactly.
What else? What else?
And I don't know.
You still won't get a tree that produces money in your home.
If you are an entrepreneur, like Kennedy Japan is an entrepreneur, he says he gets nothing, but he's an entrepreneur. So it goes with it. You cannot have everything. There's always an opportunity cost for something.
Yeah, well,
and it's not true.
Interesting.
And it's not true that the NDC is going to win in many or 90% of these places, because the election for the parliamentary candidate has been convened for the earlier seats where the MPP didn't have an MP. So we should have that clearly.
Yes,
they may win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's not that they'll go to Otafo and go. They may inch up a bit, but
well, okay. We'll hear you. We hear you, Roland Walker. Let's talk about COVID-19. The president did address the nation yesterday. I'm sure you've seen, you probably joined in the conversation with the recoveries and the numbers, and that just happened over the weekend. Lots of reactions. Let's talk to the Ghana Health Service. We've got the Director General joining us for a brief conversation on this. Hello, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, Doc. So, the numbers still continue to go up. First of all, I want to ask about your reaction. I'm sure you also monitored the NPP primaries and how most people absolutely did not pay attention to all the protocols, particularly the social distancing. There were lots of people not wearing the mask. Some people were, but they're still getting really close to each other. This is what we should be expecting if this is anything to go by in the December elections, which is just around the corner.
Thank you very much. I think these are behavior issues that will continue to happen. But as you are aware, the use of masks has increased. Starting from where we started from. So that is what our communication and that of the media should be, to encourage more people to wear their masks and apply the 3 protocols of hand hygiene and social distancing. So we'll continue working and providing information so that at all levels, not just during election or anything, in the market and every place, adherence is not as good as we expect. And so we are hoping that we'll continue our education for improved adherence. And now that the EI makes it compulsory, we hope that will also encourage more people to wear. And so I really wouldn't want to just, because on my way, when I'm on my travel, I see funerals and all kinds of gatherings that people are not applying those things. Even though some are, I think we can only improve it and ensure that those protocols are observed. Because once you do that, we are able to protect everybody.
I'm on your sites, the websites, that gives us the updates on the COVID-19. The new cases, there's 147. Our active cases, 3,596. Confirmed cases, 14,154. Recoveries/discharge is 10,473. Why do we continue to still record new cases?
Yeah, we record new cases because we still have people who have the infection, who are not protecting themselves, and they are also transmitting to us. We are also having some corporate flare-ups where institutions, where people work with somebody comes there, he gives to a few people because the protocol within the facility is not best, and so people are able to transmit from themselves to another. So these are the issues that we are going to deal with. That's why our approach of contact tracing and testing any household of everybody, which is not the usual, to do so that we can always be able to find the cases and continue. Otherwise, we'd have had a more exponential spread of the case, because anyone we pick means that that's the person we are able to identify, isolate, and prevent the person from spreading the virus. And so as long as people are also not abiding by the full protocols, we're still going to minute some. And of course, remember that our approach has not changed of mass testing. Even though the numbers are not like before, we are not doing the sweeping, we are doing mass tests, we are doing risk group tests. If you think that a group here is at risk, we don't need to have a positive case, we go and test them. And so that's how we are able to identify positives within that group and are able to contain it. So as long as that's going, we hope that with time, the numbers will start coming down. If people, in addition to the measures, apply the protocols that we have been talking about.
Dr. Abuaje, kindly also explain to us the recoveries/discharge.
Okay. When the disease started, way in March, the first protocol was that in any all disease that we are also scared about, we picked the best distance. That's okay. Let's do viral clearance. The WHO recommended that you have to do 2 negatives before anybody is discharged, because everybody's clearance the concern was to stop the transmission so that anybody who is positive is not able to transmit. The new evidence, after following up the case and doing more studies, that after 10 days of becoming positive, that person is not able to transmit. It's not shedding the virus. So if it's not shedding the virus, then it means that you cannot transmit to somebody. And so instead of keeping you and doing 2 negatives before we discharge you, becomes unnecessary. And so once the person crosses that threshold, you can do that. So what WHO gave 10 days for those who are asymptomatic, those who don't display any symptoms or signs, and 10 days plus 3 days of no symptoms for people who came in with symptoms like cough, fever, among other things. Now, we looked at our own circumstances, we looked at some of the local studies with that, and we adopted a 14-day protocol, so that if you took your sample on the 14th and that you are positive, then and you have no symptoms, we go to the isolation center. By the 28th, we should be able to discharge you. Whether you're at home or isolation center, we have been managed in isolation center or in the treatment. Of course, treatment center, that you'll be discharged. Then for further follow-up, if they need be. Those who are sick, after 14 days, if you show 3 days, consecutive days of no symptoms, no signs and symptoms, we also discharge you without a test. And that's how it is. And so if you look at all the people who have been in our books, who are not doing their tests, who are also preventing, who do not want to have the test, and those who are with us but they traveled, and so we are not able to find them to do their follow-up tests. They are all technically, that are also technically discharged. And that's how, if you look at it, and you are looking at the people, active cases are those people who are within that 14-day bracket, who are still observing. And that's how you have and that comes out of the total cases. And that's what you have seen the recoveries and discharges jump up. Already we had almost 4,000 recoveries. But all those guys, people who were in that we are not able to look at, and those are the isolation centers. So many of them have been discharged. And I think it's healthy because some of them were being kept there because of the protocol, but they were really not sick and they were not a risk to anybody.
Okay, so Dr. Agbaje, we are sure that if a person is not showing any symptoms, but they have not been tested again after the 14 days, we're sure that if we let them go, they will not infect others.
They will not infect others. In fact, the studies show that the people who continue to test positive, so they're just picking dead particles or strands of the virus.
Okay.
And that's what is causing that. And this is policy. This protocol is not just in Ghana. There are many countries that are adopting it, including the entire European Union. So,
okay.
And so the essence is we don't want to perpetuate the disease by people transmitting. And all this lockdown is all to prevent transmission. And so for countries to move away from that and adopt this policy means that we are all convinced that it's good enough to see the risk.
Dr. Agbaje, there are still people who do the tests and don't get the results. If you haven't received your result after 2 weeks, what does it mean?
I haven't received your result after 2 weeks.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah, we need to follow up. I mean, if you had a positive, I mean, we don't know you're positive. So if you are positive, that's when it starts. If, let's say, your test was negative, and you haven't received was negative, it doesn't mean that you will not contract the infection. And so we need to pursue the results and find out what it is. Because if you are negative, it means that those who are positive and recover, they have immunity. But if your result has not come, and so we don't know your status, then we cannot be sure of your distance. Subsequently, that test, if there's a need for have the test, we can have to be redone.
So it is not true that if you don't hear from those who took your samples after 2 weeks, then it means the reason they haven't contacted you is because you're negative.
When you are negative, you are informed. When you are positive, you are informed. So there's nothing like if you don't hear from around, it means you are negative. Maybe the riskness with it, they will look for the positives is probably more higher than the negatives. But everybody is informed about their results.
Okay. Finally, sir, finally on stigma, we have a colleague who is recovering at the UGMC who notified us that the persons who are due to be discharged today, for instance, their greatest fear is stigma from people at home, people at the workplace. How do we continue to fight this? How do we win the war against stigmatization?
I think we need to talk about the fact that the disease is not because you did something wrong, that's why you got it. And that it is not a death sentence. And most importantly, this new discharge policy, you must assure people that the people who are coming out are not infectious. I think the stigma is because people feel that, oh, this person is coming to give me the disease. I think we need to continue with the education that, look, when they are discharged because they are healthy, they are just like anybody else. They are not, in fact, they are more of an asset, because if I get a very serious disease and they can take their blood and give it to me, and it helps me to recover. And so we should rather celebrate them and not stigmatize them. And I think that's what we should be doing. That we are helping. I think we need to continue that discussion to ensure that that stigma is gone, and removing the fears, and also making people also confident that they are really not a threat to anybody, and that they should be accepted just like they were before.
Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaji, thank you for your time this morning. That's the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, helping us with this conversation on COVID-19. And I do hope that this has clarified a few things. Roland, because, you know, we've been worried about the recoveries and then the discharge, why we are here. It's been explained again, so hopefully we all do get it now. Stay with us. You're still watching the AM show. A little breather. We will be back with more.
And indeed, the president called them the Ekufuado graduates. We're talking about senior high school graduates, students who are in the third year of that second cycle level of education in our country. They are returning to school today. And we've been bringing you a lot of conversation as to how the schools were prepared to receive them. But today is the actual date or day that they're making entry into the gates of their schools. We want to take you to the central regional capital of Cape Coast, where we call it the cradle of education right here in Ghana. And we have Richard Kojenyako going to give us what the atmosphere is in many of the schools that he's already visited and where he is currently. Good morning to you, Richard Kojenyako. Good morning, Richard. Yeah, I could hear some birds chirping in there, but ultimately it also means that the atmosphere is ripe. We're just bringing to you what the sights and sounds are. Richard, good morning to you. Yeah, the rains are not good. The weather is a bit bad, and ultimately it gets to affect internet connection in Ghana. But we will again get on this. If we can't get him on Zoom, we have to establish him on phone. We'll do that because we need to get to this issue, get to have some discussion on it. We're trying as much as possible to also get on the line officials, if not the leadership of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, possibly the National Association of Graduate Teachers, before we call it a morning on the AM show. But even if we're not, we have news decks. We also do have JN Today, and ultimately we'll all get educated on what is happening countrywide. But it is the start of the school. We'll bring you what the Minister of Education said when he first supervised yesterday, that's on Sunday, the licensure examinations that took place at the St. Louis Training College. But before we bring you that insight, let's go to Richard Kojenyako, live from Cape Coast. Richard, good morning to you. Now, what's the atmosphere like? We have many schools in Cape Coast, in and around Cape Coast as well.
Well, so it's a rainy morning, but the campuses of these senior high schools are busy. The students started arriving in the various campuses as early as 7 a.m., but I'm told by authorities that they are actually going to start at 9. So every day, instead of the usual 7 a.m. or 7:30 that they used to start their lessons, they are going to start at 9. So it's just a 4-hour period, and then they will retire. The essence of that is that they want them to eat from their dormitories before they come. So when they come, there will be no need for them to go out to buy anything. And then they have also barred people from selling on the campuses of the various senior high schools. I'm currently at the University Practice Senior High School, very close to the University of Cape Coast, where I've seen a lot of the students coming. Some were brought by their parents in their vehicles. Others also came by taxis. And so I can also see a lot of them in their mask. The teachers have also started arriving. And anybody you see on campus is in the face mask. And so I'm also told by authorities that they are going to use today and tomorrow for the orientation and the arrangement of the chairs in the various classrooms to observe the social distancing protocols, the 30 maximum in every class. And so that is really what is happening here. I've been to the Adesado College, I've been to Infantum, and currently I'm at the University Practice Senior High School. The day is still young, and we are looking forward for more.
But ultimately, it means that we need to have an expectation of what usually the sites are when it comes to students making entry into school. Usually, what would have been the practice, and what we should be expecting today? What usually is the practice?
So usually, if the students are supposed to come to school, the reopening is today, the boarders would be arriving a day before the actual reopening to put the place in order to get set for the following morning's activities. When I went to their boarding house, they have a hostel, and so they treat it as a boarding. So it is assumed that all of the students here would be accommodated on campus because of their number. It's not a full school that is in session, but that is what usually happens the teachers come, and usually on the first day you will not see so much of an activity. They use the day in preparing the campus for the start of academic activities. And so usually that would have been the case. But now I've seen the students bringing out some of the tables and chairs, and then the teachers are supervising them.
But we expect classes to be starting from 9, you say?
Yes, and so that is what the briefing by the Regional Director of Education on Friday, that was what it was all about, that all classes will start at 9, and there is for a 4-hour period. The timetables have been drawn by the various schools. They set some committees, so the committees that will be responsible for rapid response, others for communication, and others for other various activities on campus. They do not want to leave anything to chance, and so that is why they formed the committee. So the various teachers would be responsible for the various committees. You know that it is not only the Form 3 teachers that are supposed to be around. Mandatorily, they've asked all teachers, whether you are teaching in Form 1, Form 2, or Form 3, to be on campus to assist in whatever would happen, because they assume that the teachers have stayed in the house for quite a long time. But I can see some expression of happiness on the faces of the students. Actually, they've missed some of their colleagues, and the teachers came here very early.
But the officials told you that we have supply of the Veronica bucket, etc., the sanitizers and all that. Have you been able to check in some of the schools, not the notable ones always, but the other ones that are surrounding Cape Coast, whether we have some of these things reaching the schools in the first place?
Well, so I was at Academy of Christ the King. That is also a school in Cape Coast, but it's basically a community school. And when I went there on Friday, the teachers were there. They had a staff meeting to form the committee. And I saw at the entrance of the school the Veronica bucket, so you'd have to wash your hand thoroughly under running water before you can even get access to the school. And so it runs through all the schools I have been, and it is now that they are going to add more buckets to it so that the student would not be constrained in terms of observing some basic hygienic practices.
Well, let's see how it goes. Richard Kojenyako, continue monitoring the situation in and around Cape Coast, the Central Regional Capital. We'll be back with you subsequently. But we also do have on the line the General Secretary for NAT. That's the Ghana National Association of Teachers. Mr. Thomas Musa is online. Good morning to you, Mr. Musa. And so far, all your members are ready to go to school, aren't they?
Yeah. Good morning to your listeners. And then I think the issue that we have discussed today is the D-Day. So I've taken it upon myself to visit some secondary schools in the Greater Accra region. And in the next 20 minutes, I'll be entering some of them so that I could, have a first-hand experience of the issues discussed prior to the reopening of the secondary schools for our final year students to write the exam. And I think whatever happens, so you will know what has been done and what has not been done, and the best way to go about it to ensure that nobody becomes a victim to the pandemic.
I am told, even before now, and despite the communication you've undertaken, you still have some fears. So what are they?
Yeah, you see, it is one thing saying it, and it is one thing getting it done. The president has spoken, and yesterday the president reaffirmed his commitment to ensure that all the PPEs and other related protocols are observed. So the president having spoken, then the duty now will fall on the implementers, which happens to be the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, up to the school level, in which case all the people involved will need to ensure that all the agreed protocols are implemented to the fullest, because we have said that it should never be said that a student or a teacher should leave the house, or a student should leave the parents, that he is going to write his or her exam with the intention of becoming a teacher, a medical doctor, and as a result of this pandemic, the person never returns home. We all say, now, God forbid. And as a result of us all showing commitment to getting this thing done, we all need to get involved. And that is the more reason why I'll be visiting 4 secondary schools today to acquaint myself firsthand of the issues at stake, and whatever thing that will come up, I will certainly go back to the authorities and draw their attention to it, that we need to fix it as quickly as possible to ensure that each and every student and the teachers are all safe to actually continue to do the academic work.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But before we wrap up this conversation, ultimately you may have negotiated some allowances or not, or some RICS allowances to be paid, or you have not?
Yes, yes, that is ongoing. We have to table something, but we have discussed it in our last meeting. It came up. So we'll be meeting again on it, and then the real figures will be tabled, and we'll speak to those things. And whatever it is, we'll get back to our people.
Your members, when you communicate with them, how do they feel about the lost time, so to speak, in contact hours with their students?
Is it with respect to the contact hours?
Yes, please. The absence of a learning and teaching period for all this while.
Oh, you know, in this particular case, let's take it one by one. The first one is that we are talking here about life and property. And in fact, we are talking here, but the first principles of the law of nature is self-preservation. And so once you have life, whatever it is, we can get it done. And this is not the first time of us traveling on this particular road before. There have been instances where schools were closed down when the teachers came up, but the teachers were able to fulfill the side of their bargain. And this time around, we'll get it done. But like we are saying, as the teachers go to school from beginning today, the key thing is that we must secure the teaching and learning environment. Because you see, when the players get to the field, which is the school in this particular case, and they observe that the environment, the teaching and learning environment is not secured with the BPE, then it will create some fear. And once fear begins to creep in, then it will affect both the learner and the teacher who is supposed to facilitate the teaching and learning at the school. And that is why we are saying that instead of leaving the entire work with the teachers and the students, then we cannot do that at this particular time. We, the union, the parents, and the media, we all need to get involved. Then wherever we identify any challenge or any issue, we need to bring it up. I can tell you, some of our members are scared. They are saying that it is likely that all the promises that have been given will not be fulfilled. But we can also not sit back and say that, look, they should go and it will be fulfilled. So we are also following up to the schools to see whether all the things that we have raised will be fulfilled. If they are not, then we have the cause to raise concerns and let the powers that be know that, look, these were the things we agreed on, and they are not being done. So please, we should all get it done. And so that each and every one will be safe. And we repeat, let it not be said of us that a student left the house to go and learn, or a teacher left the house to go and teach, and the teacher never returned home. I think that should never be said of us. And that's the more reason why we should all be up and doing to ensure that each and every person who has a duty in connection with this particular, in the final year student, we all must live up to expectation. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thomas Busa is General Secretary, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, and it's where we have to go to Kumasi. From Cape Coast, and then speak to Nana Yaojima. Good morning to you, Nana Yaojima. A number of big schools in Kumasi, but also a number of the middle and smaller ones also surrounding the Ashanti Regional Capital. How does the situation look like as they are reopening?
We have the final years and also students on the green track reporting for school today. So here at Sakapia Senior High School, I see some senior high school students arriving, and if you go to the...
Nana Yaojima, can you hear me?
Yeah. The dormitories some students are in there trying to put the place in shape to ensure that they have really a good environment for school to use. So you see some of them trying. Veronica buckets, putting them in place, the few who have reported are ensuring that they do things the way it's supposed to set up. So they are going by government's protocols, and I can see teachers around. Most of them have reported, and they are supervising the students who are going about setting up the school. There are a number of Veronica buckets. I see them bringing them from the offices and placing advantage points. The senior high school master, that's the head teacher, is also here. You can see him in your shot going around putting a lot of measures in place. So I think at Sakafia Senior High School, even though students are not, so many, the students who have reported so far are not in the numbers we expect them to be. The few are trying to set up the place as they await their colleagues to join them, for them to kickstart the academic calendar once more. So I have with me the senior high school master, that's the head teacher, who will be updating us on what they've been doing so far in regards to ensuring that all these protocols are observed. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Joy News. Tell me, what exactly have you done? I've seen some Veronica buckets and others. And what exactly have you done so far?
Thank you, my brother. Good morning once again. Like it is announced by the government, Minister of Education, Director General of Education, school is to resume today. Really, we have resumed. I think last week, the team visited the school, meeting with the Municipal Director of Education, Municipal Health Director, and other educational directors. They came to visit the school, examine the school, and tell us what to do. And really, we are in it, in terms of sanitation, putting things in order to make sure that we follow the hygiene protocol. Really, Sakafia Senior High School is one of the boarding secondary school in Askwama municipality. Currently, school has resumed. Teachers have reported. We are here to have a first general staff meeting. We group the teachers into groups. We start the first group will start at 9 o'clock, ends at 10. Then the other group will start. So yesterday we went to the Massive Metropolitan Assembly to take the items, the PPEs promised by the government. Actually, the government has really provided them. We brought them in the school, so we are yet to provide to his student who report to school this morning. We're also going to put the Veronica bucket at the vantage point where they are needed. I think so far that is what we are doing. Teachers are in school in their numbers.
But what we know is that all students are supposed to be boarding students now. Exactly. I've seen your facilities. I don't think you have enough facilities to accommodate them. Is that so? Is it right?
Actually, like I said, team visited the school and we told them our number and they made an arrangement to occupy them. Our major challenge has to do with beds and mattresses. God being so good, I think 3 days ago, I called the Deputy Minister of Education. I think quickly, together with the MCE, they collaborated, and then beds have been provided. We have enough beds to occupy the students. And we're also making the place in order. Because the MCE told me that I should put the student in order. Where there's a challenge, I will let him know. So for now, we are accommodating them. Where we fail, it is above us. Based on what they say, to draw the attention of the MCE so that they provide the necessary attention to us.
So according to the head teacher, there's close collaboration between them and also the municipal chief executive, Honorable Ali Seidu, and through that they expect to ensure that all the protocols are well observed and students, school goes on in a hygiene and congenial environment.
Well, Nanaya Ojimade with that update from Kumasi, and it's one of many schools that we're likely to touch base with today, right here on Joy News, and it's all because second cycle schools are reopening for at least the third year student or the third year student of that batch, and then the gold track, and they are in second year. And the reportage is basically to keep all of us viewers up to date with how prepared the schools are on one hand, how these parents and then the young ones are making entry into school, and whether the various protocols are stipulated not only by the World Health Organization but also adopted by our ministry and the Ghana Health Service and the National COVID team are being deployed. Well, we'll keep you up to speed with the latest, but that'll be it for now. Thank you for joining us for the show. In the meantime, we have to tell you to always get interactive. News Desk comes to you at 10 to 11. Do stay with us.